Welcome to the Child Care Director's Chair, the podcast for bold educators who are ready to lead, grow, and shake things up in early childhood education. Whether you're a teacher eyeing that lead role, a lead stepping into leadership, or a center owner dreaming big, this is your space to grow with purpose and leave your mark. Hosted by heart-centered leadership coach Erica Saccoccio, each episode brings you real talk, actionable tools, and a contagious laugh or two, all designed to help you step into your next level with confidence. So pour your coffee, pop in those earbuds, and take your seat, because your leadership journey starts right now in the Child Care Director's Chair.
It's your girl, Erica Saccoccio, here with the Child Care Director's Chair podcast. And I have a question for you. What if educators felt safe enough to speak up and leaders felt equipped to truly listen? When teachers' voices are honored and mental health is prioritized, early childhood programs become stronger, healthier, and more connected. And today's conversation is about breaking that silence, building trust, and bringing leadership and teaching teams closer together. In our episode today, we have an educator who is really passionate about teacher advocacy and mental health awareness and leadership connection, and why these pieces must come together to create a thriving early childhood program. So we're excited to highlight Ruth. She's also a speaker at the Early Education Empowerment Conference, whose work in centers, particularly hers, and she's from New Jersey, just really wants to empower educators and strengthen communication to foster emotionally supportive environments where teachers and leaders can grow together. So welcome to the show, Ruth.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Of course. Tell folks a little bit about yourself.
I am a mom first and foremost. And I think motherhood led me into early childhood. I've been in early childhood for about 8 years now, 8 going on 9. I've learned so much. I've evolved a lot as an educator. First starting out, the patience that I have now, the drive, the desire, the passion that I have now is so much more. It's so much more different. And I credit that also to my director that is retired, is that she found the time to see the educator in me and not just the preschool teacher that was on salary. So she found time to kind of mold me, and I found time to kind of rub off on her. So it was like a 50-50. So it worked itself out. I'm just passionate about being that voice for teachers that I never had. Being that I used to always hope that once directors got into the director's chair, they didn't forget what it was to be a teacher. So a lot of times, us as teachers, we gravitate towards that, oh, they used to be a teacher, but it's like we're the only ones that remember and the director has forgotten. So I, like I've said before, I want to be that voice where if I can prevent one teacher from throwing in the towel and thinking that this career is not for her just because she didn't have the right tools, I'm all for that. Like, I feel like we've lost so many great teachers in education because they were just next to their support system just wasn't what it needed to be. And sometimes directors don't have all the tools because they answer to somebody else. So I just, I kept myself in this field because I was passionate about it. But if it was not for the passion that I had found, I would have walked away so long ago. And I don't want that for another teacher. So I want to see, what can I do to be that voice for a teacher, be that advocate for a director? Because sometimes they, go through the trenches too. So, I just want to figure out how can I be that mouthpiece for the educational world, and letting people know, hey, don't throw in the towel. If this is what you love to do, stick to it.
Yeah. And I love, and this is one of the reasons I immediately connected to you, is that you're in a teaching role. And so I say this all the time. I'm like, leadership isn't who has the name on the door. Leadership is when you lead and people follow. When you speak up, when you take action, that's leading. So why do you think that so many educators struggle to advocate for themselves? What do you think it is?
I think leaders struggle to advocate for themselves because they internally don't know how valuable they are. I think they are feared. They fear the thought of being replaced, fear the thought of They just fear the thought of causing friction. And sometimes friction is not unhealthy, because if you were doing something for so many years and it was right, in 2025, what worked in 1999 is not going to be the same dynamic. So I think a lot of times for me, it was, My godmother always used to say, whenever you're in a space, let them know they can't afford to lose you. So I always brought 100% to the table. I always, did everything that I was supposed to do, and I'm sincerely passionate about it. And I think a lot of times I advocate for myself because I want others to be able to, know that, dating is not something wrong. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So, how do you think, or how can teachers' voice positively impact their mental health and job satisfaction? How do you think that works?
How do I think that teachers could positively impact their mental health?
Hmm. When they use their voice,
When they use their voice?
'Cause we
Yes.
want them to speak up.
Right. And I think the moments of, going to a director or going to another teacher or just having that time to say, this is not a bickering moment. I'm just not okay today. I'm present, because a lot of the times we always ask each other, how are you? And I'm good. People will ask me like, how are you? And I'm like, I'm present. And that sometimes is a cry of, I'm only present. I'm emotionally not here. And I think because we're so like that New York mindset of go, 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 go. I don't think that we are realizing, okay, how can we implement time in the day to hear this teacher? She's not okay today. She might have had a rough morning. Her classroom has a lot of things going on. What does she need from me? Whether I'm the director or whether I'm a co-teacher, a lot of times we are the ones that keep each other going. I went to a suicide and prevention awareness conference, and in gathering information, I found out my director lost her dad to suicide. Like other coworker, had struggled with depression and those thoughts. And I try to pay attention to, okay, what is this teacher really saying? Or what is my director really saying? Or, hey, do we have it in us? Because we are the only thing that keeps each other going, not the
Yeah.
parents, not anything else. We're the ones that ensure that we come back. Just stopping to be like, hey, I know it's rough in your classroom. You're doing a great job. So I think for us is paying attention to what teachers are really saying. It's not easy being a wife, a mom, an educator. It's a lot. And sometimes a lot of these children you are their parent. Their parents spend no time with them now in 2025. They are just, to fill in that the checklist of things that they're supposed to do. So we're wearing a lot of hats. So I think for me, I try to listen to what my coworkers are saying. And sometimes I'll go to my director and I'll say, hey, just check in on so-and-so and see what they tell you, because you just never know. And the worst thing is something bad happens and you go, how did I miss this?
Yeah.
So that's my thought of just being more
Yeah. I
attentive.
love that you're so mindful you're self-aware, but you're also very mindful. And I love that because, in many programs, there's one director or maybe two and, 20 or 30 teachers. It does take all of us, right? Because it's very easy for one person who walked through your room for 10 minutes to miss that, as opposed to someone who's in the room with you for
Mhm.
9 hours a day, 5 days a week, right?
Right,
That's going to be on your radar much quicker
right.
than the leadership. But let's talk about, what responsibility does leadership have in creating emotionally safe workplaces?
I think the responsibility that leadership has is realizing, okay, it's not always about the budget. Like, how can we implement that our teachers feel mentally secure, that there's something in place for them if they need to talk or if they need a minute. Not don't let crisis hit where. And I've always said this to my director as well. I said, we had a little boy. Unfortunately, he wasn't in our care. Later, years after he graduated, his dad died by suicide. I've been a fire victim where I lost my home, and I had to figure out, okay, I have to give myself this much time to come back to work because I need to work, but I still need to make sure home life is good. And I said, if, what if we had a victim of a house fire in our school? What do we have in place? What do we have for that family? We're just so focused on enrollment, and Facebook and Instagram, and that's all great. But I think what families pay attention to is how a center assesses crisis. Like, if I had a mental breakdown, or if there was a death in my family, or there, like we just went to a funeral of one of our former students, but what do we have in place of, that family even though they still have the other sibling in our school, but what do we have in place as far as when grief hits the school, right? Because now you have our one director had to walk around and check every class to make sure all the teachers were okay with hearing the news of the student passing. But what about when grief hits her? What about, the fact of she's not processing things okay? Like, I think we're so focused on the budget and making sure enrollment is where it needs to be and what we look like on the outside to other competitive preschools that we're not realizing that, we're a family within ourselves, right? So if our teachers aren't good, the school is not good. And I think that's what directors are afraid to tackle is that piece of saying, hey, I understand we have a train that needs to keep moving, but how about from time to time we stop and implement mental health? We have so many webinars about, children and conscious discipline. I respect all of those. But what about me or my co-teachers when I'm having a rough moment? I have children in my class that are undiagnosed. I can't teach them the way I teach all other 12 children, right? So what about webinars for me? And what about different things that allow me to not burn out, where my frustration is not taken out on this child, right? So, because for me, I'm at that place where sometimes I have different parents and they ask so much of you that they're not doing themselves. And, I vent to my director, but I understand that her role is to make sure the families are happy, right? Totally get that. But now I'm an unhappy teacher because I don't have the tools to teach this child, and their parent has an expectation that I cannot fulfill, that they don't even have the tools to show me how to fulfill it. And one day I had to sit down and I had to say to my co-teacher, I have to shift my energy because I don't want you to pick up on that, and I don't want our energy to turn to resentment for this child, right? So I had to figure that out to say that to her, as opposed to our director coming in and saying, okay, I understand that these are the challenges that you're facing, but how can I help you? How can I help you feel heard and what can I do to help you look at this differently, right? Because a lot of times we just don't want to offend the parent. And I think if directors just took the time to say, okay, yes, there's the budget. Yes, there's the direction of the school, but where are our teachers at mentally? And what mental space is our staff in right now? As you check in to see if everybody's in ratio, how the classrooms are running to fulfill the requirement of New Jersey Grow, did you do a mental check of your staff that day? Because you entrusted these teachers to teach 14 and 16 other kids, and nothing in you thought, okay, what mindset is this teacher in today? Because she's in charge of these little people. So I think I wish that as directors checked off their roster of their to-do list and they kind of walked in to say, how are we today? I wish they really meant it, because there's just how are we? Okay, I'm good. Good to hear. And they don't really want to stop. And I'm not generalizing, but I really want to say, I think 80% of directors really aren't trying to stop to be like, okay, this is what's really going on. You're not, what can I do? Right? They're just hoping everybody will put their best foot forward, say they're okay, because this is what we're taught to do. We're taught to just push through and be okay.
Yeah. And I love this conversation, which is what made me be very drawn to you when we met in New Jersey, because I think the answer is all of us. The answer is the teachers need to speak up and advocate for themselves. Directors need to listen, and directors also need to be more than present. So it is a very important conversation. And I do think that there are a lot of directors who don't have the tools. To be honest, they don't have the tools either, not for lack of caring or wanting to, but many folks were teachers who just moved up because they were good teachers, and now they've been promoted to a director. And is there even any training for directors around the mental health of their teachers? And there really isn't. And so one of the things when we were selecting what sessions we wanted to bring to the conference, there's 3 or 4 on educator wellness, and yours is one of them. But I thought it was important. So we've got it on day 1, day 2, and day 3. So no matter what level you were at and what day you came to the conference, you would be able to tap into that.
Right.
So I
Right.
thought that, that was really important. And I'm so sorry about my cough. I'm trying
Don't
to get over COVID.
apologize.
So I
Life
apologize.
happens. Life happens.
Life
Listen.
is happening. So What do you think are some practical ways that leaders can maybe invite honest conversations from their staff? Because you feel like that's, maybe not happening. Maybe give the folks who are listening maybe a couple, a couple words of wisdom or tips that you think could help them.
I know for us, we always do at the end of the year, we always do like a contract like renewal, right? So like our director will sit down and see where we're at as far as educators. Do we want to renew our contract? Do we want to come back next year? I honestly, I know there's a lot on my director's plate, but I wish there was something in place where every couple of months we could sit down. Like we used to have a thing where my old director would call it conversations with Carol.
Hmm.
I think those type of if even if it was like a side, let's like whatever we called it, but just one of those every 3 months, I'm going to implement this week to sit down and chat with my teachers what their challenges are. First and foremost, what can I do? We change in the classroom? Like, where are we at? Like those, I feel like those little 3 month check-ins would be
Hmm.
so important because we go through so much from the beginning of school to the kicking and screaming, right? To implementing structure. And then we have October where there's Halloween. Then we have Thanksgiving. Then we're prepping crafts. Then there's Christmas. Then we're sending stuff home. Then January for us, as soon as we get back, we start preparing for parent-teacher conferences.
Hmm.
So we are like on fumes. Like I find myself, and I do this as a running joke, but I always go to my staff members and I go, I am on a decline. And I apologize if over the next couple of weeks you don't get 100% of me, but I will be back. And I'm not realizing what I'm saying because it's in a joking manner. But I realize now as I'm talking to you is that I'm really being transparent. Like, listen, I am on fumes. And if I say something to you and I'm short, or if I just don't give you 100% as what I would commit to give to you in September, after the break, I will refuel and come back. But now that I'm thinking about that, a lot of us are always like, listen, we hear each other say it all the time. Like, I'm just so done. I'm just so done. And we have gotten so immune to giving that disclaimer to each other. But what about if a director was like, okay, it's the 3 month mark. I'm going to sit down with them and see where they're at, mentally, like as far as the class. I feel like if we just had that more often, and I know a lot of directors know people like, and that's why for me in our classroom in January, I do career month because we are sitting next to so many parents that have careers that can benefit even us as educators. Like when our parents come in, one of them talks about emotions and feelings, you know, that or we had one that was a speech pathologist and she worked for an OT firm, and we made a professional development day where she came in and just kind of equipped the class on things to look for with undiagnosed children. So a lot of the times we have so many careers around us that could help us as teachers because we are on fumes. Like we have so much thrown at us now that we did not go to school for. And we're tackling it the best that we can. And it's nice that parents appreciate it, but at the end of the day, like it's getting harder and harder. So I think for me, I wish that directors had something where they checked in with their staff every 3 months, or even if you had like a little box of, hey, can we meet on such and such day? And I know it would slow a director down because directors have so much on their plate that they need to do. But I feel like even
Yeah,
if they had a
that should be
suggestion,
on the list, though.
yeah.
Taking care of your staff should be on that to-do list for
Right.
sure.
Right.
Yeah,
Like, I
for
feel like if
sure.
we just had like a little suggestion box where you look through it, okay, so and so needs to meet with me because they are having a
Yeah,
really tough time, right? Like, okay, the
yeah.
suggestion box is empty this month. Okay, I'm going to just do a general, this is my third month. I'm going to put a sign up sheet outside, and who needs to sit down and talk with me? What are their concerns? Like, I feel like if that happened more often and a
Mm,
director implemented that in place, you know what I mean? Like, I
yeah,
think staff you wouldn't hear the bickering as much as you hear in the hallway. You wouldn't see the side gossip. You wouldn't see the side venting
yeah.
conversations that directors pretend they don't see.
You are right. You are very right. You are very right, Ruth. No, you're very right. It just makes me think about we were not able to close down our school during the holiday break, but we were able to give teachers some extra time not in the classroom.
Okay.
And 2 of the days last week, Thursday and Friday, one day I spent 3 hours with 2 teachers, just really just talking and just, talking about the year and just talking about pretty much anything that came up in the conversation. We talked for about 2 hours. Then the next day, I spent 3 hours with all 6 of the lead teachers in that school. 3 hours, and we just talked about what do
Wow.
you need, what supplies
Right.
do you need, what supports do you need. Like we spent a lot of time together, and it's funny because I called the director today and I said, because I was covering for her, and I said, hey, how are things going? She's like, really, actually, quite well. Everybody seems like in a great mood. I'm thinking, yeah, because that little bit
They
of
have
time
that
you
time.
invest is going to, and I say a little bit of time. 5 hours is an exorbitant amount of time
Right. Right.
for somebody like me. That's like the things I could do with that amount, but it was worth it for me. It was
Yes.
important to me. And so I said, this is where I need to spend my time right now. And
Hmm.
so, but I could see almost the immediate relax of the shoulders and the
Right. Right.
smiles back and the laughs back. And so,
Right.
yeah, you gotta really be able to be attentive and be not only self-aware, but aware of your surroundings. And like you said, don't act like you don't see the gossip,
Right.
because we know you do. We know
Yes.
you do, right? Yeah, so there's so many things we could really go on for forever, but
Forever.
we're not gonna give it all to him now, Ruth. So my last thing I want to ask you is, what insights will attendees gain from attending your session at the conference?
The insight attendees are going to gain is that there's just so much, there's so many areas that we could be mindful and we could better ourselves in, right? Not just for me. Like, I'm not just, hey, how can I? No. If you're having a good day, how can you pass on the baton to someone else, right? Because a friend of mine, he's an educator, but he's a man. First, he's a football coach, he's a father, and he's a preacher. So as I was getting this together, I was like, oh my God, we didn't even think about how men are in this field struggling, because they have to be men. They can't have a breakdown. And mind you, then I thought about it. I was like, he lost a best friend. He lost his brother to suicide. He went through a divorce. He has a teenage daughter. He's a football coach. And we all know with football, a lot of these boys, they don't have a father. That's their father. So in my mind, I said to myself, we have to think about all of these tools that we can take with us, even whether we go share it with our director or we start to figure how can we. I want to present tools that let us know, okay, everyone around you, whatever career path they are in, if it's beneficial to you and your staff, let's start partnering more with people. Let's start tapping into those gifts that people have. Like, one of my parents is a school guidance counselor or a school social worker, and she deals with feelings. So not just for kids. How can I have her tap in and find a way for us to tap into our emotions, or different things that, like, we have a teacher, that a parent that did yoga. How can we bring those things in now to not make it's not just about work, right? Because even when us as educators, like, there's so many things that we need to implement to make sure that we're good. So I want to tap into so many different resources and present that to people to know, okay, mental health, yes, it's a broad thing that a lot of people are afraid to tackle and afraid to talk about. Because at first I was like, why? And I say this to you often. I was like, why did I choose this topic? Because I say to everyone, I want to handle it with such grace, because it's something that a lot of educators are screaming for, but they don't know how to handle it. Like, everyone is like, I'm just so proud of you for taking on this topic. And every day I'm like, oh my God. But I understand. I was like, you know what? This topic was on your heart for a reason.
Mhm.
I want us to, if, as we walk past people day by day, let's not just keep on rounding it off to they're having a bad day, they're having a bad moment.
Yeah.
We have no clue what the educators that we sit next to, we have no clue their life stories. We have no clue, like, what they're going through. I've seen teachers sitting in the parking lot just looking like they are just ready to just throw in the towel, because
Yeah.
life is happening, right? And they have to take that deep breath and come back in after lunch and pretend it's okay. So if it's not okay, who can we call? Where can we send that person? What can we do? How can we let them know, listen, you're not in this by yourself, especially as women. We do not take the time to tell other women, hey, it is okay to fall apart.
Mhm.
Like, I
And I
am
got
all
you.
for it.
And I got you. Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
is okay to lose your mind. It is okay. You have kids. Life is life. And it is okay. On all these different tools of different people that I know, I plan to tap into every single one of them. If they've handled adversity as a parent and had to put on their best foot and go to work. Like, I had a mom, her son had to have surgery from ear to ear. And she had to get so much done. And I was like, my God, this woman had to take her 2-year-old to get, like, brain surgery or like cranial surgery done and all this stuff, he shows up in a good mood. She shows up in a good mood. And not because she's an educator, but how was she able to sustain herself mentally? So I feel like I've come across so many people that have withstood so much adversity, and they show up in their best self, and or there's so many people that are willing to help others, like whether it's through music. We have a music teacher that, some days I'm stressed out, I'm like, Miss J, I need you to play these songs for me in music. And because we need it too, we need to sing. Like I always come down the hallway and I play my speaker and me and the kids are dancing, right? And you don't know, like the office staff will start to jam. And there was a day I was like in such an awful mood, and then my director goes, no music today? And I go, right. So someone else is looking for that lifeline to dance, to sing. Like there's so many things that we could use to uplift, like, our day, because it's rough. It's
All
rough.
right.
So
Well, Ruth, don't tell them all. We're not
I
gonna
won't
tell it all. Okay, guys. So listen, if this conversation is one that you want to continue, we want to continue it with you. So join us at the Early Education
Yes.
Empowerment Conference happening May 7th, 8th, and 9th at the Crown Plaza in Warwick, Rhode Island, where speakers like Ruth will dive deeper into how we build stronger teams, supporting educator mental health, and empowering our teacher voices. This conference is designed for directors, leaders, educators who are ready to move beyond burnout and towards connection, clarity, and confidence. And this month, January, we have an amazing deal. Buy one, get one free registration. So bring a colleague, bring a coworker, bring a leader, bring a partner, bring a director. Invest in your people, strengthen your culture, and lead with empathy and purpose. Spots are limited. January's offer will not last. So we'll see you there. Until tomorrow. Bye. Thanks, honey.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Child Care Director's Chair, where we believe leaders aren't born, they're grown. If something sparked for you today, share it, shout it out, or pass it along to the next bold changemaker in childcare. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with Erica Saccoccio for more real talk leadership tools and a whole lot of inspiration. Until next time, lead with heart, grow with fire, and always remember, the chair is yours. Now own it.